Hi, I'm Claire from Thirsty Brush, and this is the Sunday Craft Chill Out show. So today I'm going to do a nice little clean and simple looking card, but showing you how to use your die cuts as stencils and masks too. So I'm using this lovely Love and the Waves die. So first of all we need to cut the Love die out first. Any kind of cardstock really. I did originally start off with some thinner cardstock and it didn't work quite as well, so I've just gone back to my 300 GSM and I've cut it out twice. Put one aside for now because we'll need that later on in the project. But so the first one that we're going to use is going to act like a stencil and mask for our card. So I've cut another piece of white card, slightly smaller than my card blank, so this is going to be a 5x7, and I'm just holding it down in place on my mat with a little bit of washi tape just so it doesn't move. So for the colours I'm using Distress Oxides, and these are the Twisted Citron and Broken China, which is a lovely bright green and blue colours, and I'm going from each corner and I'm just going to blend about half of the piece of card each in the green and the blue, and then blend them together in the middle, but in a diagonal fashion. Apologies, my dog is crying in the background. So just keep going and blending with your brush. This is the lovely Stamps by Me blending brushes, the flat one, and they really are lovely to get a really smooth finish. Now on the camera it doesn't look as smooth as in real life, and it's really strange. I don't know why that is, but you'll see at the photo, the still that is at the end of the project, the blending looks much smoother than it does on this camera here. But keep going anyway until you're happy with the blend that you've got. I'm just holding certain areas just to keep them still so my Love die doesn't move too much while I'm doing my blending. You could, in fact, when you're cutting these, if you've got any low tack sheets, or in fact even you can buy sheets that are kind of stencil material, and then you could reuse these elements. That would be really cool too. So just keep going and blending, blue on the one corner, green on the other, or whatever colour combination you choose. This would also work if you've got the Distress inks rather than the Distress Oxides. But when we get to the next stage, you'll see the reason that I chose the Oxides, as they just give a little bit of extra definition when we're going to use some water later on. So I've just pointed out there's a very slight movement there from where I've my stencil just on the edge of my card panel, so I'm just going to trim off that very tiny bit that's picked up a little bit of ink. It's not much at all, so it's really easy to just trim and get rid of that. So that's the back part of our panel for the card. So next we're going to use the second die, the Waves die, as another mask or stencil to go over the top of this one and create kind of an extra pattern in that blue and green. Don't know whether you noticed there, as it's Sunday, I'm in my dressing gown today, so this was early morning Sunday craft for me, which is really fun just to be able to, in lockdown, just chill out a little bit and stay in the PJs that little bit longer on a Sunday. Or any day of the week, because they all feel the same, don't they? So this is the lovely Waves die, and you can use it either way up. The bits just pop out really easily. I didn't even need to use a pokey tool here. I just use my fingers just to pop out those bits, and it gives a really cool pattern. So we're going to layer that over. Again, hold it in place on your card your card panel with a little bit of low tack tape or washi tape, which I'm just trying to find obviously now. And this is a really cool technique you could use with any two kind of panel dies. Just experiment and see what patterns you like the look of. So just hold that in place, and then I've got a water spray, and I've just give it a little spritz and dab off some of the excess with some kitchen roll. So as I say, this will work with Distress inks, but I really like the effect that the Distress Oxides give when you're using water. Now to check how it's going, see I just lifted up the bottom there. If you haven't got quite enough of definition or lift from your card, just go back in and do some more. You can see that really patterned, nice effects that you give, but you still get the really bright colours on there. Just going to dry that off so it's not too wet to mount on my card. And then you need the second love die that we cut out now, and we're going to do something really cool with that on to layer on the top. So what I'm doing is cutting off the frame piece. So I think I've done this on a previous video as well. And we're going to use this love element almost like our sentiment. So I'm just trimming off the excess frame just really quickly, and then I'm just going to go back in and just neaten up a little bit where I've cut, just so it's a really clean finish to mount onto our card, and it layers over the existing love that we've masked off really nicely. It's a really nice way to get another way to use this die as well, so it hasn't just got to be used as a panel die or a stencil. You can die cut this out and use it as this sentiment too. So what I'm doing now is pressing the die cut into my embossing ink. Now I started off doing quite a light press, and this gives more of a distressed look when you add your powder. After I'd finished the video, I actually went back in and did it again. As you can see, there's some little gaps, and originally that's what I wanted. I wanted it to have that kind of rustic, old metal look with some of the gaps. But actually, for this particular project, it went better with the card when I used it to get a really smooth look with the silver powder. So I just went over again, but if I'd have pressed it in properly the first time, you could get that really smooth finish straight away. You don't necessarily need to go over a second time. I think the kind of more distressed look with the gaps works better for a more kind of rustic or vintage looking card, but experiment and see what you think. Just leave that to cool for a second before you pick it up so you don't smudge your powder. And now we just need to construct our card. Adding the panel to the card first, using some larger foam pads. These are the Create and Craft ones because I like the thickness of them, but whatever you've got, and in fact I do use funky foam panels a lot in my cards as well, but I just haven't got any here with me at home at the moment. So spread them out really as evenly as you can, so you get a nice smooth finish on your card. And then I'm adding the love sentiment, die cut sentiment on there with some tiny, tiny little foam pads that I've got. So this takes a little while just to add them all on, but it's worth spending the time to get them straight. Or if you've got, the rolls of very thin foam tape, go ahead and use those as well, because those are really cool. So just trying to spread them out as evenly as I can, so you get an even rise on the die cut once it's adhered to the card. Okay, so just removing the backs on those foam pads now. But as I say, do experiment with a couple of different die cuts that you might have. If you haven't got these ones, don't worry. You can do this with 2 panel dies and some inks that you've got at home already. So it's a really fun technique to try out. And what we're going to do is, once we've got this sentiment die ready. I'm going to slightly offset it from the white behind to give a very, very slight shadow effect. You can see there that it gives a really nice clean finish. Can you see why I decided to go back over those little gap areas? I just wasn't quite happy that it fitted with the theme of the card, but you'll see now on the finished card that that gives a much, much smoother look.